Can Italian artisans survive in a world that is obsessed with mass production? If you walk by these same streets of Florence a few hundred years ago, you'd find them lined with artisans, each a master in their crafts. But in our modern world, with the demand for quantity over quality, these craftsmen are slowly disappearing. So the other night, I was at a dinner party, and I asked the guy next to me what he did for a living, and he said, "I make violins. I make them by hand." We are the longest generation of violin makers in Italy. And that got me thinking, how is that business going to survive? So I booked a time to visit their workshop.
Anybody home?
I would have never guessed that tucked down this street that I've walked 100 times, only a few blocks from my home, was a workshop where time seems frozen. Inside, the Vettori family is quietly keeping a centuries-old tradition alive.
It's a very high responsibility. You must do your best always and try to feel what your grandfather and your father did in the past, so merge into their tradition, way of making, but still express your own making with your hands, with your mind.
I always knew I wanted to be a violin maker. You know, many children had the typical question, oh, what do you want to do when you're older? And they answer, I want to be an astronaut or pilot. I want to be a violin maker because my father makes violins. So I grew up in the workshop and he passed me this passion.
It was not just like a moment where I felt a lighting and this is my inspiration. I think it was a process that was built up in years. My son, he really wants to make violin. He already started something downstairs, and my daughter, she wants to make bows.
If your father could see you now,
sorriderebbe.
Sarebbe molto orgoglioso.
He'd be very proud.
E 15 giorni fa abbiamo avuto in negozio la regina.
15 days ago we had the Queen of Holland in our workshop.
E quando lui abitava lì, nella miseria,
and when he was living there, like on tough condition, tough times,
non avrebbe mai immaginato che la regina veniva.
He would have never imagined that the Queen of Holland would have come to see what we do.
Sarebbe orgoglioso.
He will be very proud, and I think he will smile.
In particolare con gli attrezzi che usava lui.
Yeah, especially with the tools that he was using. I don't have to tell you how old it is, right?
Legno di bosso.
So this is boxwood, so it's very hard, and you can see that it's been damaged a bit. I've been hammering for 90 years now.
Wow.
So this is my great-grandfather. He gifted to my grandfather when he started to make violins.
No,
so my grandfather, to close the case,
c'è uno normale.
so he uses, these are like the spring of the American Jeep, of the soldier, of the seats. So, and they're still like, I mean, incredible material. They're still good. So to close, so there used to be the Willy Jeep spring of the seat. From here you can see how many violins he made with this. My grandfather, Italy had an embargo, so we couldn't import and export things. So then he didn't have wood to make violins, and he saw that my grandmother was working with a chop board, which has a very nice wood, and he was really like, "Hey, what are you doing? What are you using?" So then he decided to make a violin with that.
He made a violin from her cutting board?
Yeah. So and we still have it.
Oh, I have.
And the funny story is that because the chopping board was not big enough, he couldn't make a full-size violin, so he made a three-quarter violin, the one that actually I started with that violin.
It's amazing. It just goes to show you that when you have something inside your spirit, even if you're in an environment that is not going to help you.
We can't even imagine also those days, what they went through.
We have no idea.
Yeah.
This is a story of perseverance as much as it is of passion. Faced with limited means, Dario could have found every excuse to walk away. With bombs falling and no access to wood or tools, giving up would have been easy, but he didn't. Instead, he let his creativity and passion take over and built something extraordinary against all odds.
When you work, obviously you always put something very personal into it. And my father, when he taught us, he was always very free to let us express ourselves. Obviously, violin making, it's a kind of art that is very strict, so we have like strict canon. We cannot just move forward and do like a pink violin. So like the details are what are most important to us, and what we're focused, obviously. And obviously, focus on the beauty of the instrument, which is actually one of the most difficult parts to achieve. So doing something nice and beautiful, and that obviously has to sound as well.
So it's interesting to me that you're not just thinking about, does it sound good, but is it beautiful?
Yeah,
because that matters.
Of course, the eyes also speak.
The eyes also speak.
Actually, it's really inspiring to do it. I don't feel like nervous when I start. I'm always very excited because I know that it's very challenging and I love it. So I would say the scroll is always the biggest challenge.
Show me.
Yeah, because it's like a sculpture that it's a double spiral.
Yeah.
And on both sides has to be symmetrical.
What is the part that you love to do?
The scroll.
The scroll, you too.
Because I'm sculptor.
So just so I understand, when you're making the scroll,
Yes.
what are you starting with? Is it a block? Is it a block of wood?
I show you. Show
Okay,
you how
yeah,
to
let's see.
start.
Wow.
So and here.
So you're literally starting with this.
Yeah, and you can see here is because we have the drawing.
When you look at this here, it's a 2x4. It's a piece of wood that eventually turns into magic in somebody's hands.
The scroll.
Is this a certain kind of wood?
Yeah, this is a maple.
Maple.
Flame maple.
And where do you get it from?
So this is from the Balkans area are the best for the acoustics. Yeah, they have the biggest tree and it's very hard. The ebony, for example, is from Madagascar. So we get wood from all over the world. So every instrument we make is different.
In a way.
In a way, like so there are
different sounding,
different sounding, different model, different everything. So we always start and we do something that we haven't done it before. So because we want to improve. We always try to improve. Each instrument has to be better than the previous one. For example, these two violin.
Questo è un violin.
Yeah.
This is a Maltese Stradivari, and this is a Balestrieri from Mantova.
So if you see the look is very different. This part here is wider.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Narrower.
This tradition has been going on 90 years. How has the process changed and how has it stayed exactly the same?
I will give you a funny answer.
Okay.
That picture over there, it's from my grandfather in 1937.
Okay.
He had to pull the workshop outside from his house because there was no electricity inside, and the photographer had no flash shooting a picture.
That's the photographer's shadows. That's his head. But not even my grandfather. We do the same process as 400 years ago. So we work with the same technique as Stradivari, Amati, Guarneri. Also, that's the beauty. We are here when we want to be here. There's no like, I come here many times after dinner, and that's the best part because there's no interruption. So I work here,
Yep.
my brother works there, and my
Okay.
father works there. We get along very well, yeah. We are together and we see each other
the
what they
good
do
part.
and we stimulate each other.
Yes.
So I want to do something better because my brother did something good.
Right.
So we have the original.
Can I touch it?
Yeah, of course, of course.
Oh, it's delicate.
So this is a very interesting project we are building, we are working on it. So there is this violin made by Guadagnini. Guadagnini is one of the greatest masters in the history. In the 1774, he made this violin. We have done the 3D scan.
Yeah.
And then with the 3D printing, we create basically the cast of that original violin.
Okay.
So I'm working on it with to study the arching. Then we have to do the thickness. So these are the thickness. So this will be, so now the thickness are done. You see, so these the thickness are not done because it's full. The measure has to be very specific. Inside those guidelines, there's a huge variety. For example, these two violin are different model. So if I put one on top of the other, you will see that this one, you see here is not the same. And this is like very small, but makes huge difference. See, this part is higher, this part is lower. And this makes a huge difference in terms of sound. Then, for example, this arching, it's 2 millimeter higher than this arching. This is more flat.
Yeah.
It means that like when the instrument is closed, the sound bounces back faster because it's 2 millimeter, it's more flat. This is more deep. And inside has a different volume, so it generates a completely different sound.
Have you ever had a problem where you made the violin and you're like, something's wrong and I don't know what it is?
Luckily not, because we work with we do many checks. Amati was the family that invented the violin in the 1500s. Before the Mati, there were no violin, there were something slightly different. So it's an evolution really that took thousands of years to arrive to a violin. To prepare it, and then you have to like sharpen it. And then let's say if I want to remove this mark, now I do like this now. And slowly, slowly, I remove the mark, no? But I don't see. I can see, while with the glass, you see through.
Who's better, the glass or this one?
But the glass is also part of our tradition. I'd say we only do it. No other maker do the glass, but I think it's super smart.
When you price the violin, what makes one violin worth $100,000 and one worth $10,000? What's the difference?
That's the maker who made it.
So it's just the artisan.
Yeah, but that's huge. It's like a painting. Somebody that inspired to Van Gogh, but it's not him and worth not so much.
Dario, how does it feel for you when you see someone on stage playing a violin that you created?
It's a beautiful emotion. I just had an opportunity because I sold one of my cello in Lithuania to the Philharmonic, and the cellist of the quartet is playing my cello now in Vilnius, in Lithuania. And I was invited for the concert in the big hall, like 2,000 seats hall. And it was the first time that my cello was played in quartet there, no? And so the president of the foundation who welcomed me, and obviously it was before the concert on stage, it was the speaker who was speaking about this concert, and she was speaking only in Lithuanian, no? And then I said, poi she said, Dario Vettori. And then I was a little bit embarrassed. Then she said, Dario Vettori again, and then all people start clapping, no? It was a full audience, so I said, what am I gonna do? Maybe she was presenting me, I had no idea what she was saying, no? And then I lift up, I give
Wow.
bow.
She wanted to acknowledge you for creating the instrument.
Yeah. It was very nice. Then my son was with me, my Giuliano, so it was very beautiful experience. You know, like the work of violin maker is basically like a lot of hours alone. Finally, you get at the end of 200 hours of time necessary to make a violin. Then, obviously, when the instruments are played by top soloists or good chamber music,
it's a huge satisfaction.
Orchestra, chamber music players, then it's an even more satisfaction.
How much is it the instrument, and how much is it the artist?
We always say every violin has the violinist, the right violinist. So the match has to be from both sides, and that's very important.
You have to have both of them.
Yes.
And have you had that experience where you saw somebody playing your violin?
Yeah, of course. It's a big emotion when you finally listen what you've been creating for so many hours.
How long does it take?
I would say 2 months. From start to finish, even more, because the varnish takes a lot of time to dry. Usually we try to work on one violin at a time. Just when we start to varnish, because it takes many months to dry, so then we work on other instruments at the same time while we varnish. That's both of my father's instrument in Singapore.
That's got to be incredible. Is there one violin that you made that holds a special place in your heart? Like, I can't top this one. This one violin is for me the biggest thing in my heart.
Yeah, I do have, of course. It's the violin that I proposed to my wife.
No, tell me.
I put the ring inside. I'm gonna go and take the one. So I have it right here. Yeah. And now this violin is 10 years. I made it 10 years ago.
Okay.
So I remember I put a ring inside the violin, and she looked through this hole, and she was like, "Hey, what is that?" And then she understood.
What did you tell her? Like, look
because
through the hole?
no, I was like, so this is I give you a violin. And she was really like, wow, a violin. Like she was already very emotional. So, and I remember that every time I was showing her a violin that I finished, she was always looking through the hole. So she was doing this all the time. So I knew that she was going to look eventually through the hole. So I gifted the violin, and she was like, oh wow, this is amazing. And then she looked through the thing and was like, oh, what is that loop? And then she
that
understood.
may be the best engagement story I've ever heard. Wow.
Thank you.
And does she play the violin?
No, she doesn't play the violin, but there are also many collectors, so this is her violin forever, like, stay with us.
How did you get the ring out?
Yeah, I put a ribbon, so I put the ring inside, and then was a un fiocco. So then a bow, yeah. So then she unribbon, then we removed was passed inside. So she the ring was hanging inside the instrument.
What do you think the next 90 years looks like?
Comunque speri. No,
I had a good opportunity for my
grandchildren.
if you want, it's a good opportunity, like my son
Right.
and my daughter.
If somebody buys an inexpensive violin, is it just made by a factory?
Yeah, that's made by machine and there is no value in it. So it's just something that is very cheap and but what we make is something that lasts almost forever because there are instruments that are like almost 500 years old and they still play incredibly. So I will imagine that because I do the exactly same technique as 500 years ago, our instruments in 500 years they will still play. So you're buying something that will live forever.
In a world that's so obsessed with speed and efficiency, the Vettori family chose a different path, a path of precision, patience, and an unwavering commitment to quality. In 1940, Dario Vettori followed his passion, opening a violin workshop against all odds, limited resources, Nazi occupation, and a war. Yet he persevered, bravely creating a legacy for his family, one violin at a time. I can't help but think about how my own life would change if I slowed down and focused on creating with the same care and dedication. It's a reminder for me that some things just can't be rushed, and the most meaningful creations are born from love and dedication. So whether it's violins, art, or even just how you spend your days, take a moment to slow down, invest in what matters to you, because the things we pour our hearts into today will resonate for generations to come. Ciao from Florence.